Hey everyone, welcome back. Today I have a message for you which is all about being more open-minded. It's about connection. It's about some really powerful stuff that I want to just start a really intelligent conversation with you guys. And I'd love to hear your thoughts as usual. As we go through today's message, I'm going to, as usual, share a bit of story, what's inspired me to actually come up with this message for you guys today. And I think it's going to be a really powerful one, particularly in, the current climate, of the globe where we have a lot of judgment. We have a lot of differing opinions. We have a lot of us against them. We have a lot of right and wrong. And it's such a limited mindset and it's such a limited way of being a human being. And so I'm hoping that today you're going to resonate with today's message, or if you don't, you're going to share your honest opinion. And hopefully we can expand our minds just based on our differences. And really that's what I'm going to be talking to you guys about today, because it's super important. And, just as I quickly do some shares, and I'd appreciate if you guys want to share this message to anybody that you want to have more open-minded connections and depth with while I quickly do these shares. But basically, I want to, really talk about the fact that we do not need to agree with one another in order to get along, right? And in fact, what I'm going to talk to you guys about today, it's actually in the ability to sit with our differences and hear other people share things that we don't necessarily agree with. That's actually the key to us expanding and evolving and having more freedom as individuals, and also working together towards something more meaningful than a us against them kind of mentality that keeps us kind of swiveling around on the surface, never really getting anywhere meaningful. And instead, what we want to do is we actually want to allow for the expansion of our minds to come into that meeting and basically evolve, right? We want to have every connection that we enter into, it's expanded us, moving away from just wanting to be surrounded by like-minded people and instead shifting gears towards open-minded people as the key. So really excited about this message with you guys. And I'd love to hear from you, so make sure you're dropping me some comments. Let me know where you are in the world today, and also, any words of wisdom or experiences or perspectives that you wish to share for us all and co-create this space. That's what these messages are all about. So today, I want to talk about the fact that the more easily offended you are, the more ignorant you remain. Okay, now this is not to be a judgmental comment. This is actually just a wake up for us all, right? That to know that the more easily offended we are, the more judgmental we are, the more at arms we are with the differences that other people express and the way that they show up in the world, the more ignorant we remain, right? We don't make the most of the opportunities available to us to expand, to learn something different, to experience something different, to get beyond and outside just our unique lens, right? Our unique paradigm, which is true for us, but it's only partial in the whole amount of reality, all right? So that's what we're going to be talking about today. And also, you guys know I'm always talking about freedom and empowerment, and how do we become our most free and empowered selves? Well, this is a big part of it. And what I've personally experienced and what my perspective is on this is that the ultimate freedom for anybody is to remain unaffected by however anybody else shows up, right? And to not have to need everybody to believe the things that we believe, to see the world the exact way that we see it, in order for us to be safe, right? If you are finding that you fall into that part of our humanness, right? We all have that unconscious behavior that goes on because we all have an innate need to belong, right? But what we're doing is we're utilizing that need to belong in a way that actually disconnects and separates. And what I want to talk to you guys about today is a more resourceful more intelligent way of actually building that sense of belonging and that connection without having to create and fragment society into this us against them, right? Which just serves to, maybe you belong with your you team, right? But you're actually very disconnected with the rest of society or other groups, right? And so we want to take a more meta perspective on our connections and on our open-minded, ability to communicate without having this regulation based on how we're so fearful if other people are going to be offended by it, or us censoring other people because we fear we're going to be offended by what they have to say. If you feel easily offended and very judgmental of people who are different to you or who express differing opinions, that says more about the low level of empowerment that you have. And it's not a criticism, it's not a bad thing. It's like, hang on, just look at that. That's an opportunity for growth right now, right? If I'm getting very easily offended and I'm judging a lot of people, what it really means is I'm not very empowered in myself, right? I don't have a sense of freedom in myself. My power is being dispersed to all of these external sources, right? And that's why we get so controlling in the world. That's why we get so judgmental. That's why we get so easily offended, because we're not in control of our own power within, right? We're putting that out. We're projecting that out to the external world rather than ultimately owning that within, okay? So I want to talk about a number of different things. So basically, let me bring some story into it. So a few nights ago, I was sitting down to dinner with somebody, very important in my life. And we don't always see eye to eye, this amazing person and myself. There's a huge generational gap. You can look at it that way. Come from very different backgrounds and eras, right? So of course you're going to have some differing opinions and differences in terms of how you view the world. And my perspective is we can learn from anybody, right? Even if they're not teaching us anything specifically, they're actually giving us an experience to learn more about ourselves as well in reflection. So you can always learn from everybody. But basically what happened was, this person was, really, they were actually trying to give me some advice. I could see they were trying to give me some loving advice from their paradigm or model of the world. And they, love me enough to care about me to actually want to have a conversation. But they were very, very, very indirect about, I knew what they were kind of alluding to, but they were very indirect in what they were speaking about. And basically, the conversation came in this very generalized form of, our differences between cultures, differences between people in different countries, differences in all these different realms. Oh, and in particular, belief systems, right? Differences in belief systems. Like if somebody is maybe religious and another person is not, or they come from differing religions, there can be a real clash, right? And what this person was saying to me was, you can't bridge that gap, right? There's the differences are too vast that you can't bridge those gaps. And basically I had a very different opinion, because one of the other things that they were saying was people can't change. And of course, I spend my entire life shifting and evolving and changing myself and helping everybody that I work with to do the same, right? And so of course, that is not my belief, to think that people can't change and you can't bridge gaps and differences of models of the world, right? Because my whole life and my whole mission is to unify diverse people from across the globe and get us all empowering ourselves in our own uniquely inspired ways, right? And so everything that this amazing human being was sharing with me from such a place of love and care, because from their perspective, they were seeing me do something that they were worried about, right? We actually had to bridge a gap in this whole conversation, right? And basically, it alerted me to something, and I'd love to hear your experience with this or your perspective on this. But basically, there is an old way of looking at the world. And basically we can, they're barriers of connection, right? Barriers of connection and communication. And most people, the old way of looking at it and these barriers is that, okay, well, if there's an age difference, there's a barrier. If there's a gender difference, there's a barrier. If there's a religious difference, there's a barrier. If there's a cultural difference, there's a barrier. If there's a difference in interests, there's a barrier. And if there's a difference in maybe intelligence, there's a barrier. And the list goes on and on and on, right? And basically, that's what gets people up in arms and in disconnection with others. They're like, oh, well, you know, we don't share the same religion, so we can't have connection. Or we don't come from the same culture. So, you know, there's just too big of a barrier there that like we can't have connection. Or, you know, too big of an age gap, or the differences between men and women, you know, or the other genders going on, right? And these are the ways that we oftentimes judge people and have prejudice against others. So of course, we are going to have disconnection, right? Of course, there's going to be a barrier in play, but the barrier is truly only in here, because for all of those different so-called barriers to connection that I just mentioned that are quite universal across the globe, right, where people get their prejudice from, you know, there's wars started on all of those things, right? I want to mention the real barriers to our connection that actually have nothing to do with age or sex or religion or culture or the different interests that we have or different levels of intelligence that might be at play. And basically what the real barriers to connection and are being closed-minded, right? If you're a closed-minded person, you are the one who is not going to be able to see that there can be a bridge built between any differences in between people, between groups, between everything, right? Also, a major one is when people have their own unhealed wounds, right? They're not developing themselves. They're not empowering themselves from the inside out. Instead, they're reliant on other people to reflect to them that they're okay, right? So they put their power in an external position, and what that does is it makes them hold on to their identity so tight that they can't even hear a differing opinion because it threatens their very existence, because they're not empowered within, right? So working on and healing your own wounds from the past and really going on your own self-development journey is absolutely key in order to knock down the barriers in our own minds in terms of our connection. Also, fixed mindset, right? Kind of closely related to a closed-mindedness, but fixed mindset is that, they can't change. Nobody can change, right? You're who you are based on where you were born and what experiences you had, and you can't do anything about that and what culture you grew up in, and that's just you. And, you're never going to change, right? That's a very fixed mindset. So they are the real barriers to all of our connection and communication and expansion in humanity, right? The real barriers of closed-mindedness, unhealed wounds, not working on your own empowerment, and having a fixed mindset. So pretty clear to see from here that what we want to do, if we want to break through to anyone, to any culture, to any person in any different religion, to any gender, to anybody in their humanness, right? Because that's what we all have in common is our humanness. Basically, we need some tools for that connection, right? We need to get beyond the old paradigm of prejudice based on age, sex, religion, culture, interest level, intelligence, whatever, however you want to break it down and categorize. And basically what we want to do, the tools that we need for breaking through to depth of connection, meaningful connection, expansion, because when two people meet who have differing opinions, but they spend that energy allowing the other to expand their mind through their own unique paradigm, That's how we actually evolve in an intelligent way, as opposed to the two people who meet, who have differing opinions, who spend all the time and energy trying to convince the other why they're right and the other person is wrong, right? Now that gets us nowhere, right? So we want to be our most free, our most empowered, and our most evolved human beings, individuals, right? And so what tools we need to bridge the gap between any person through connection and open communication is pretty straightforward. We need open-mindedness. You know, I really feel like open-mindedness is my favorite quality in every human being. Right? Open-mindedness means I get to connect with you. I get to learn from you. I get to expand with you, right? There's so much power and beauty available to us in open-mindedness. But like I said earlier, only the most empowered people tend to be intelligently open-minded. They're not threatened by hearing differing opinions. They're interested. They're curious. They're like, maybe that person knows something that I don't know, right? And they're not so terrified of losing their own identity that they can't hear anybody have a differing opinion because, oh my gosh, like if they hear something different and their whole identity goes out the window, you know, that's a very disempowered way of being as a human, right? And so what we want to do is definitely notice that the more intelligently open-minded we can be, not to the point where we're so naive we just believe everybody around us and never trust ourselves, but there's a difference. There's a, hey, I'm so empowered within myself. I know what I believe, what I don't believe, how I view the world, but I'm not so identified with it that I can't connect with other people who don't share my same like-mindedness, right? And so basically we want to work on that open-mindedness. That's a number one tool to bridge any gap with any person and transform conflict into expansion, right? Conflict into consciousness, right? And the next one is the tool of having your own self-empowerment and self-fulfillment that can only be born when you take 100% responsibility for who you are and how you show up and your own thinking, your own feeling, your own speaking, your own actions, right? All of your different powers, you taking the lead and control of those so that you can be internally empowered, internally fulfilled. You're not reliant on anybody else to make you feel powerful or to make you feel fulfilled, right? You are doing that for yourself. You are meeting your own needs. The next tool is definitely a growth mindset, right? Like you have to have a strong belief that anybody can change. You can change. Everything can evolve. Everything can be different. Everything can get better, right? Like you have to know, you have to have a growth mindset. That's another key tool to have in order to bridge any gap in our communication so that basically we're not getting offended by people's differences and instead we're actually being expanded, right? And empowered and evolving together, right? So that we can belong to our humanness and appreciate the different paradigms, the different lenses that we all bring and how they can enlighten all of us, right? If we're open-minded enough to hear that and courageous enough to share that, right? And not remain ignorant. And then basically the final tool that I would say on this one is a genuine value on connection as opposed to significance, right? Because many people, that comes back to that disempowerment and empowerment, right? Many people opt more to be the more significant, the more special, the more unique, the more separate, the more higher, the higher above kind of person, and to create that separation and that fragmentation so that they can feel better about themselves, right? It's this, they have to get their sense of value from the external world, right? And so they create this separation. They don't want to have the connection, right? And so they don't place a genuine value on connection because they haven't empowered themselves, right? They don't have that tool. But you definitely do need a genuine value on connection, so that when you meet people, and you definitely will, right, who do not share the same belief systems as you, they have not had the same experience as you, right? All of these different things, all of these differences that are at play. When you meet them, if you hold a genuine value on depth of connection, expansion, evolution, enlightenment, right, in your own mindset, then basically you'll be able to be curious and fascinated by whoever you meet, and not dishonor and disregard and get offended and stay ignorant to their differences, because you're too threatened by the differences, and you're trying to find only like minds as opposed to open minds. So that's my big spiel for today. I hope that it is of value to you guys. And just remember this. This is something I heard from an incredible soul who I love learning from, Ken Wilber. And it really hit home for me. So I hope it hits home for you as well. But basically he said that, everybody is right? Everybody has their own truth. It's just that it's partial, right? Their truth is the truth, but it's partial. It's not the whole truth. It's just a section of it, right? It's just viewing the world through this lens. I've got this truth about looking at the world through this lens. And this person looking at it from over here, they've got a different truth, right, from their lens, but it doesn't make either right or wrong. It's just, how do we come together, and how do we create a bigger vision, a bigger picture, a more informed truth, because we're open-minded enough to actually communicate about our differences, and we don't need everybody to be us or think like us or believe the things that we believe in order to get along and connect. And in fact, we look at, this genuine value on connection as our pathway to becoming more free, more informed, more intelligent, more connected, more inspired human beings that we wouldn't have otherwise been had we stayed closed-minded and limited. All right, so that is my message for you guys today. As usual, I love connecting with you guys. So drop me some comments. Let me know where in the world you're tuning in from. Have you got any questions or words of wisdom that you would love to share in our beautiful little conversation today? I love co-creating this space with you guys. And as usual, if this has been a valuable message and you feel like it would be valuable to get into the minds and the hearts of others, then please do share it, and let's expand the conversation. So Craig is in the house, and Graham and AJ and Barry and Vanessa, good morning to you, beautiful soul. And Jerry's here, awesome. And Craig, thank you very much for those kind words there, Craig, and hope you're doing well. And Joseph is here as well, and Craig. If we all agree with each other all the time, we'd never ever learn anything. Different opinions are great lessons of diversity. Absolutely. I love, one of my favorite things to do is learn, right? And particularly, when I travel, I love immersing myself in the culture. I love communicating with people who've grown up in vastly different environments to me. I love asking people about why they believe the things that they believe, in a really fascinated, curious, very open-minded, no judgment kind of way, because I know how much that expands me as a human being, right? To capitalize on other people's experiences that they're open to share with me, and see if I can try some of that on for size and see how it's going to better my life, right? Or even just make me more certain about different things that are very empowering to me, right? So there's a lot going on there. So love that share there, Craig. And Judy's here, and Jerry from cold Quebec City in Canada. Always good to see you, Jerry. It's definitely warming up here in Melbourne, coming into summer, thank goodness. Nearly there. And Graham's here. Greetings from the UK. Always good to see you. And Vanessa. Everyone you meet knows something you don't. Absolutely. I read this quote the other day, and it's a nice reminder to stay open-minded. I love that, Vanessa. Abso-freaking-lutely. I think that, like I said, Open-mindedness is key to your freedom, to our evolution, to all the depth of connection, right? To not be so identified with our closed-minded perspectives and not so ignorant that we can't learn anything from anyone, right? So such a beautiful share. Love having you here as usual. And where am I? Craig, if everyone agrees with each other all the time, then there's no then that's when communication ceases, because there's nothing new to be added to the conversation. Absolutely. And have you ever had the experience where you don't have anything to say in the company that you are keeping in that moment? You know, that says a lot, because there's so much. Like, even if you spend every single day of your life with one person, there's still a mystery to you. Right? You're still a mystery to yourself. You don't know the depths of another person. And if we're not communicating, really what that's a reflection of is, you know, our closed-mindedness. It's not we haven't created the right environment to share openly, right? And maybe coupled with the fact that we might not be in connection with ourselves, right? We can only truly connect to the depth with another that we honestly have within ourselves, right? That's why a lot of relationships are very surface level when people aren't working on themselves. And it's more entertaining for them to be on their phone and to be, you know, on Facebook or whatever, than actually having a conversation and communication with somebody in a really meaningful way. So true there, Craig. And Abda is here, and Joseph, greetings from Slovakia. Good to have you again, my friend. Hope this is a good message for you. And Jerry, we need to keep an open mind to enrich ourselves. Absolutely. Remember, open-mindedness is key. I reckon, open-mindedness and vulnerability for me kind of go hand in hand, in terms of some of the most beautiful traits that us human beings can really own. And humility. I like that one too, right? But there's a few there, but open-mindedness is so key in the conversation that we're having right now, right? And that's why one of the reasons I appreciate you guys so much is that we can create a space like this where we're just brainstorming different ideas, you know, and we're not trying to drum in just like this one way of looking at the world. We're actually looking to expand and grow from one another. That's why I like co-creating this space with you guys. So love that, Jerry. And Maddie's here as well. And Craig, cocooning yourself is the most limiting barrier that you do to yourself. Yeah, absolutely. Like isolating, cutting away from the world. Exactly, you know, definitely. So be courageous enough to get out there and create environments that are open-minded enough so that you're actually inspired, and so are other people, to share their truth. So absolutely. And can't read that one because I think it might be Ty. I can't say your name, but I love having you here. And Bill's in the house. Hello to you. And Halloween in the house. Happy Halloween, guys. I love it. Thanks for the reminder. And Coco's here as well. And Dennis. With all that said, change is scary and sometimes hard. Yeah, absolutely. Flexibility is key for me. Love the message. You are changing lives with these chats. Thank you. Oh, Dennis, thank you so much for those kind words. And yeah, you're absolutely right? Change is the most terrifying thing for human beings because we hold such a desire to be safe and secure and certain, right? So any change, meaning anything different, anything that takes away from our certainty, can oftentimes be scary. But that's why, you know, I've mentioned multiple times over the years now, one of the best beliefs I've ever instilled within myself is that I thrive in uncertainty. I love it. Right? And actually to stay the same and certain, that's actually, it feels like it's almost costing me my progress and my fulfillment in my life, right? And it's just about making these internal shifts in our mindset to be able to get beyond our humanness, because it is very human to be scared of change, and trust in the possibility of a better future as you do. So that's so beautifully said, and absolutely flexibility is key. And Irmis is here as well. And Craig, open-mindedness is like driving along an open highway. You feel free and adventurous. Closed-mindedness is like getting stuck in inner city traffic. You feel that you're not getting anywhere quickly. Oh my gosh, I love that analogy so much, Craig. Thank you so much for sharing it. Absolutely. And Jake Castillo is here. Awesome. And Craig, thank you so much for those kind words. Grateful to have you here contributing. And Khan is here as well. And Craig, everyone's truth is like a jigsaw puzzle. They're all different shapes that fit together beautifully. Absolutely. That's exactly how I like looking at the world. Right? We've all got these unique shapes, like exactly like you're saying there, Craig. You know, like let's see how we all fit together into such a beautiful picture, rather than thinking our shape is the only shape and the best shape, and then we've got a bunch of the same shape going along, not creating any bigger beautiful picture. So awesome analogy. And Lionel is here, and Dennis from Chicago, and Bill Shine On as usual, and Forzia, and hello to you, and So is here as well. So grateful to have each and every one of you guys show up for today's message and contribute to the conversation. I hope it's been of value to you guys to remember that the more easily offended we are, the more ignorant we remain, right? And we definitely want to work on, up-leveling our open-mindedness, our self-empowerment and fulfillment, taking responsibility for our own growth, not just projecting to everybody else to make us feel valuable or powerful, and having that growth mindset. And then finally, just having a genuine value on connection and depth and expansion, rather than rightness all the time, right? So Vanessa, you're so welcome. Thank you so much for showing up. And Mayan's here as well, and Sophia. Good to see you guys who are just joining. I hope you catch a recording for this one, get a ton of value from today's message, because I am just about to sign off. As I said, share this message if it has been of value. And Kanzo, hope this is, please watch the recording. And yeah, Craig, being offended is a choice. So true. You're always at choice point. Are you going to be offended and ignorant, or are you going to be open-minded, curious, and allow it to expand you, right? Oh, Kanzo, you're from Nepal. That's so cool. One of my granny's favorite places, actually. She used to love mountaineering around Nepal. So awesome. So that's my message. And as you know, every single day, I want to remind you to go out there and live authentically, love deeply, and contribute meaningfully and purposefully, right? Stay open, stay curious, get fascinated by everybody that you meet, knowing that they hold a potential unique key that can expand your own mindset, that can make you even more empowered, intelligent, get a bigger picture of what life is all about, get a bigger, truer truth going on, because you can connect it to what you already know, all right? So that's it from me, and hello to Sophia, and Thad is just joining us as well. Catch a recording, get a ton of value from this message. Sophia, you're from England and you love these videos. I'm so grateful to hear that, Sophia. Thanks so much for letting me know, and I hope you're doing amazingly well. And I'm signing off. I'm sending you guys, as usual, all of my love, and I cannot wait to see you soon. Much love.